Hello, this is Emily with Yesterday's Stash. It's snowing here in North Carolina. We have a wintry mix, and so we're all sort of housebound. So today I am destashing. So that's the name of this video, is Destashing Today. I'm talking about taking lots of papers and things that I have either inherited or been gifted or found at thrift stores and turning them into items that can be used. And this is what I am. I've actually made 5 of these little books. They're 20 pages. It's one signature. It's made from one of those manila folders that I have covered with a wallpaper. And I'm using a wallpaper book. I'm going to be talking about all the different ways that I have used different papers and items from my stash to create these 5 books. I'm only going to be showing this one book called My Lists today in this video, but I wanted to show how I was able to take so many different things from my stash and use them. The first thing I'm going to point out is the wallpaper book that I was able to pick up at a thrift store for a few dollars, maybe it was more than $1, but more like $3 or something, like that. But you can take, wallpaper has a nice sturdy finish, and it's really good to use wallpaper for the outside of books. It has a nice it goes on nice. And what I've used here on the sides is an upholstery fabric from which I've been able to get these upholstery books, which I am able to get them for $1 each. And fortunately, it does give what it's made of. Like, this is made of a cotton polyester, but this one is interesting because it too is a cotton polyester. And this is what I have used for the sides of this book. And it is actually made out of cotton, polyester, and acrylic, and it has a shiny finish to it, and it says it's an acrylic finish on it that's giving it a shine. So again, I was able to pick these up for $1 each, and then I'm able to take these and use them in different ways in my books. So I'm going to move these out of the way and start looking at the book so that we can get an idea of how we are able to use so many different forms of stash. Now, what I have taken here is I've sewn a piece of I took this, but then I've sewn a piece onto the side of the book to make and use the Tim Holtz clasp to keep it together. You can, of course, take this My Lists and turn it into whatever you want your book title to be. And what I also found was a stack of this. It's like a 32-pound paper. It's a thicker than. It's not as thick as cardstock, but it's certainly not 20-pound paper. There was this huge stack of it, so I was able to take that and a glassine or vellum and that I had picked up and make this book from it, adding just a few little accents to it. I wanted to also show you how I found a YouTube, Nick the Booksmith on her YouTube channel. Did a echo dyeing, and so I decided I had to try it. And though the echo dyeing was a lot of fun, mine didn't turn out near as nicely as hers because I had so many 3D stems and things when I did it, and I did it on the outside of on our grill outside, and kept it, boiling for about an hour and a half, and then I let it sit for a few days. Some of this is more of a washed out look, but I did like the ways the seams or the sides, the plants actually did, come to life on there and make some nice finishes. But because almost all of the pages had either a hole or something, I couldn't use the whole page. So what I've decided to do was to cut pieces out and use the pieces for the finish on the top of some of the pages or some of these little notebooks that I have. This is another stack of paper that was a like a Cambridge paper is what this one of the companies that makes these types of papers is. I put a little bit of coffee stain on it and then just turned it into a little take and go notebook kind of thing. What I've done with these is I've taken some of the old papers from magazines or from catalogs or from dictionaries and have cut them out and put little, sometimes I've put little statements on it, little quotes, or just actually made a quote out of it. This is actually paper that is used for making certificates that was in the thrift store, and have just taken them and put a vintage photo around the edge of it, take pictures, dictionaries, and put them on pages as sort of an accent on some of the blank pages. This is another one of those. Also, lots of trims. I tend to have a lot of different trims that I have taken and used and done some machine stitching to just give a little bit of an accent to the pages. This is stationery. This is actually origami paper that I took on the other side. I did a napkin Mod Podge on it and just turned it into one of those little take and go books. Anything to put, a book like this, you can put lists in, you can, keep a copy of the books that you've read, you can keep receipts in them, you can put grocery, take it for grocery lists, for remembering names of people or writing down a quote you might have heard. So little books like this are good to carry, in your bag and have when you need it. Here's an example of an interesting envelope that is using this. What it is it's Playrite. It's one of those piano papers that you put into a piano, and it makes it records a song on it. This is Bye Bye Blackbird, but this is the tube, the way that it comes, and then it has all of this really neat paper, but that is you can pick up at a thrift store or find online, and this really makes an interesting. I made envelopes out of mine because and then was able to put a little ATC card in it using corrugated cardboard and a piece of scrapbook paper. So that's another way to use our stash for things. This is the center of the book. Again, the book is 10 pages, and times 2 makes 20 when you take the front and the back, which all of the front and the back are usable. I live in an area where there's a lot of public libraries and university libraries, and there's all tons of these library cards that you can pick up for next to nothing at our local thrift store. So I have plenty of these to go around that can be made into. You can do lots of things with them. You can use them as a note card, but you can also use them as decorate them and use them as tags. Put finishes on them of various sorts. I also came across this big stack of it's kind of a cardboard paper, and it has, it's two-sided, lined, and it was just in a big stack. I was able to pick it up for 2 cents an ounce, and this came from old GRE collection, and a set of questions, the vocabulary cards that you can get. I found these at the thrift store for $1 for the whole shebang. And so what I've done is taken, bunches of these and put them in to the books. You can use these. You can make tags out of them. You can use them for note-taking, or you can just use them to learn or increase your vocabulary. Stationery, using paper to put quotes on, and then also for stenciling. This is actually what we call a smash book paper, and you can get smash book paper at Tuesday morning. They have all sorts of smash book, which was given to me. A bunch of these were given to me last year for Christmas, and they have all kinds of different lists of you name it, special occasions. And what I have here is I've just put a little bit of tea stain on some of them, and then here's an example, my top 10 activities, the top or foods to remember, what it's like at Grandma's house, party ideas, people. So you want to try to remember someone's name, or you want to try to remember what someone quoted to you. Little bits of paper like this are good for that. This is vellum that I actually was able to pick up a stack of that at the thrift store, and I just put a little bit of stain, coffee or tea stain on it to give it some crinkle and adds a little bit of an accent to the book. Here's an example of glassine bags that glassine that I turned into little envelopes or bags for ATC cards. And what I did was I tea stained them or coffee stained them, and then I cut them using those decorative scissors, glued them using Aleene's glue, and turned them into our thrift store has all kinds of ATC cards that you can just pick up by the handful. Some of them have their a little sleeve that they go into, and then some of them just come plain. So I have been interested in making ATC cards. You can make them out of lots of different just little sheets of paper, or you can make them out of playing cards, and just for exchanging with people. So these little the little books that I made out of the little envelopes that I made out of the glassine bags, put a little bit of a little finish on the outside of them, and have just put ATC cards in them. Good way to use up glassine bag or glassine for making little bags like this. Also have a nice collection of postcards that I've gotten. I inherited some from the old home place, but also picked them up along the way. Just have interesting tells a little. Sometimes they tell you what's on the back side, where this space for writing, or one that you can use. It'll tell you where the place is located. This is a group of old musical instruments that were in a stack that I was able to pick up. And then here is an example of where I've taken old scrapbook paper and taken kindergarten writing paper that I found and turned them into little books. what I was able to do was I was able to find this type of paper at the thrift store for $1 for a big stack like this, and then cut it down. And you and I both know that we have tons of stacks of leftover paper that we can turn into little writing spaces, and just all kinds of you know we have we all have our stacks, and to destash these stacks, you got to come up with or figure out ways to use it, and to make them into little writing spaces like this is just another example of how they can be used. And last page has rolodex. I was able to pick up a rolodex with all of these different in them for different little cards for $1 for the whole rolodex. And you can use these for all sorts of things. You can, some people actually paint on them or put a 3D, button design, stitching on them. They all come in these little sleeves, which are included, and I've just tried to include some of these. I actually have 5 of these little take and go books with different names. This particular one, my list, is what I'm accenting in this video. The others are going to be in a future video. They're all basically the same, but I will show you the other 4 different designs. These will be for sale in my Etsy store. I always have free shipping, and I appreciate your taking the time to come to my YouTube channel. I know you have lots of choices of where to go to view and to find your junk journals or your books. So I appreciate you taking the time to view my channel.